Hello there, guys. In today's puzzle, white has two pawns for the knight. It's white to move, and we are winning this. The pawns are going in this direction. So, how can we win this as white? Well, you should do what you always do, pause the video and see if you can find the solution on your own. And when you return, I will show you all variations. Go ahead. And welcome back. Okay, so first we have to realize that our rook is pinned, so we don't have any checks or something like that. That's just impossible. And if we move the king somewhere, well, he will simply just take our rook, and we don't have much to work with. A check here, attacking, and simply go back. The king will come here and we don't have anything to do. So we have to be a lot more creative than just moving our king. Moving this pawn is not good enough either. We will simply have a rook exchange and we'll lose the pawn, and black will simply put his king here, and you see the arrows. The knight will just move around, let the king stay here, and we cannot promote this pawn. So the first move is pretty obvious, actually. It's, of course, b6. Attacking the rook and at the same time protecting our rook with the pawn. It's pretty obvious that black cannot take here. We will simply take back and we will promote the next move. So black needs to do something better than that in defending. And just moving the rook somewhere like this, that's a pretty interesting position. Can you see how white wins from here? We are not checking here. That will bring him to b8, and we lose control of this pawn. If we check, we will simply lose our pawn, and we're not getting anywhere. So instead of doing that, we will prepare for b7 check with the beautiful move king c8. And now it's going to be a checkmate very soon with b7 and b8. If he tries to protect that, well, then we have checkmate in one. And as we say, he cannot move the rook. He cannot take our rook. The king moving is not doing anything. We will simply take the rook here. And this is pretty obvious, very easy win for white. So the defense for black is, of course, rook b7. And now, how do we win from here? Give it a look if you want to, some extra seconds. Yep, we are moving the king to c6. Let me just show what happens if we try to push this pawn. He will simply take it. And if we take back, well, he can take our pawn, and you see it's pretty obvious check, a draw from there. So we don't move this e-pawn. It's good there. It keeps the knight on f4. Instead, we go with the king to c6, attacking this rook with two pieces. Still, he cannot take here. If he does, we just take with our pawn, and we will check. We will promote the next move and quick checkmate. So what will black do here? There's no point in sacrificing for stalemate or something like that. He can always go to b8, and it's an easy win. So instead, black needs to move his knight, and it's three interesting spots you can put it at. Let's look at all of them. Starting with the knight e6. It's a fairly easy win for white. We will just take this rook, and if we try to take it back with this fork, we simply play king c7, let him take it, and move the pawn. And this is really unstoppable. Black cannot do anything about it. And if he tries to check maybe on d4 instead, we can walk around with our king, but we can also attack the knight right away, and allowing exchange, and this pawn will win at the end. So knight e6 here is not the smartest move. This looks interesting, threatening this and threatening a check here. But here it's also, we can either take or we can simply check, force rook b8, play king c7, get away from all the knight checks, really forcing him to take here. And as you see, this pawn and this pawn will together do the job. He can stop one, but we will simply go with the other. Something like this. Easy win. Okay. But the interesting part is after knight g6. It's attacking here, but also has some variations where you can put the knight on e7 with a check. Okay, so what will we do now? This check is not good enough. Rook comes to b8, and we cannot do this. Then it's a take, and he cannot take here, but he can play knight e7 check. We have to go up somewhere, and now this knight is protecting everything. It's just not good enough for white. The king will attack one, and he will sacrifice the knight on the other. So we have to find something better. Okay, after knight g6, we simply take here. We allow him to take on e5 with a check. And why do we do that? Because we have this nice king c7, threatening checkmate here. So if he moving the knight somewhere, I mean he cannot move his king, so if the knight moves anywhere, well, there's a checkmate. Unless he goes to c6, then he covers this, and we cannot take it due to stalemate. So how do we win? The final moves here, can you see it? Well, we don't care that he covers this. We just play rook a7 check anyway. Allow him to take, and we only have a pawn left. But that's good enough for us. We move it to b7, and this is a checkmate. Such a beautiful ending to a great study. Let's look at the starting position. From here, we either exchange or sacrifice our pieces here, and we end up with a single pawn, giving checkmate on b7 to the king, who is trapped in by his own knight, which is there at the moment. Very, very great. I love this. I hope you enjoyed this video and this study as much as I did. Have a great day, everybody.